All right, well, we've seen her in the big gloves, but we absolutely cannot wait for the MMA debut live from her hometown in Price, Utah in just a couple of weeks. It is none other than Nakia August. Nakia, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate being able to chat with you.
Sweet. Thank you, Blake. I'm excited.
So that's kind of where I want to kick things off is you have done so much in the kickboxing space, but now making the move over to MMA. What was the process of that and why right now to go over to MMA?
Honestly, I feel like with my striking, I have wanted to get comfortable with getting in the cage starting with kickboxing originally because to me MMA is definitely intimidating. Seeing them in there doing all that stuff, it's very intimidating and it's fun though is the thing. So, I wanted to get more experience in the cage and whatnot before I did result to go into MMA. And I guess it's like finding a gym that I am comfortable grappling with the people at too is a big thing for me. And so I was talking to Zach about fighting on a card for Price in July. And he's like, kickboxing or MMA? And I'm like, hmm. So I was like, you know what? Should I just say screw it and do an MMA fight? And he's like, absolutely. Like, I think you'd do great. So I was like, you know what? Let's do an MMA fight and whatnot. Because like when I watch and I see them in there with the little gloves and they're exchanging, I'm like, oh, that looks fun. And something about it, it's just always excited me. So I want to wear the little gloves.
So, are your plans to go back to kickboxing at any point, or do you think this is going to kind of be the new home is in MMA?
I do want to see how I feel after this fight, but if I feel comfortable, I feel good. I feel like it's something that I can feel very confident in. I do plan on staying in MMA. So I don't plan on, and I mean, in the future, if they were to offer me a kickboxing fight, absolutely, I would take it. Even Muay Thai, I think it'd be fun to get experience with even throwing elbows and stuff like that. Like watching the one championship fights and they do like the Muay Thai bouts and the little gloves. That's like a dream for me, is just to do a straight up striking fight in little tiny gloves. I love watching it.
My head's always spinning at these shows, but were you at the Challenger Series 15 just a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, the kickboxing. I went to the kickboxing ones, but not the MMA.
How did you like seeing that in a ring, a little bit of a different venue for Fierce?
I love it. I think it's really good. I think getting established in kickboxing, I think is great for some people. A kid that I grew up knowing, he's my little brother's age, Alex, he just fought on that and he took the win home and it was nice. I've known him since he was a little boy. So it's like, oh my gosh, like one of the kids I grew up knowing is continuing to stay and do this. And like not many people from Price do that were born and raised there. So it's just amazing to me to see that like someone that I had started training with back in 2013 is still doing it. And I love seeing that. I feel like it was awesome for people too to sit back and watch kickboxing and say, oh, I actually enjoy this, because I feel like here in Utah, the MMA scene is growing and whatnot, but the kickboxing and Muay Thai scene is very little. And I don't think people quite realize like the beauty in striking here in Utah. So I would love for them to continue to do stuff like that because people love it. Striking's just, you can't deny, you love a good striking match.
No, we absolutely do. And you've put on so many great striking matches already for Fierce. Let me go to the other side of the coin now, though, with the grappling, because we haven't seen that part of your game. When did you start feeling confident in your MMA abilities and being able to mix it all in?
Honestly, I started training at one hit back in January, and I feel comfortable there. And we've did like some MMA drills and techniques. Cole teaches the Monday night class after striking, and going there and just doing some sparring and doing a couple of Cole's classes. I think is really, I was like, you know what? I'm like really not too bad at this, and like I could really get down to this right here. So.
So, was your first days grappling and wrestling, jujitsu, all of that at one hit in January?
No, so I had actually started doing grappling when I started training back in 2013. So that was when I was still living in Price. I did jujitsu off and on for a few years, and then I was really consistent with it. And then I had moved up here, and I quit doing that when I moved up here. But I was still like, did a few judo classes. I actually had a lot of fun doing those. And the grappling stuff, I have just barely like, I wouldn't say necessarily just barely getting back into, but I'm like, no, I haven't been as consistent with that as I have been my striking, but I have been getting pretty good with being consistent with my grappling.
How's it been getting over to One Hit MMA? They've got so many active fighters over there. One of the biggest fight teams in the state. Obviously, probably a shoe in for you.
Yeah, it's great. You could tell like the people there, the fighters there, they've got that heart, they've got that passion, and you could tell they take it serious and I like it. And you could tell like they know how to enjoy their training, but they also take it serious and they get good rounds in. Like the sparring there is good. Aldo's a great coach. So
You mentioned being able to train with Cole Faust. Obviously, there's so many good names over there. Who are some of your main training partners in the room?
Maddie, I can't
Meacham?
remember her last name, but Maddie, she's a pro. She's great. I love working with Maddie. And then of course Vince and some of the, I really haven't got to spar like the really, really good guys there because it's just like my new gym anxiety like doesn't go away until like 2 years of training somewhere, unfortunately. So like, but the guys that I've like drilled with are really good and they give me really good rounds. But Maddie, I could say, has been like a great partner and a lot of help.
Oh, that's great to hear. Hopefully, we see Maddie Meacham on a Fierce card sometime in the near future. Um,
Hopefully, she's awesome.
she's great. One thing I really wanted to ask you about was your nutrition company and your business and all of this that's kind of coming out of the woodwork. I think this is awesome. Just tell me a little bit about it and kind of just an overview, and then I'll get into some more questions about it.
So yeah, I've always like I love to the fitness aspect of things. I've always been intrigued to like coach people, like even at the gym and training. If I'm not getting ready for something or my body's hurt, like I've always been one to regroup new people in and want to teach them because I want to see the best in people. I want to see people healthy, like because that's not here nowadays in America. We ain't healthy, so it's like I want to be like a motivation for people to better themselves and see the best in themselves, and nutrition I feel like plays a big role in that. So for a long time I've been talking about getting it, and I love to cook. And like for a while there when I was living alone, like all I did was experiment in my kitchen on like high protein meals and like stuff like that, and like things that I could like brownies that aren't super full of like fat and high protein. So I like really it started with that and like meal prepping. And then I was like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm just going to say, screw it. I'm going to make the jump. And I think my course I got for a discount, but it's about $1,000 to originally get. And I said, you know what? It's fine. I'll eat the money. And so I got my cert at the beginning of this month. And I actually just ordered some business cards today on Amazon. And so I'm waiting for those to come in. But really, like, I just love to see like people be healthy. I think my mom's a big inspiration in that too, because she's was super into bodybuilding and all that growing up. So I did get a good, like, my whole life, I've watched my mom do stuff like that. And it just really carried on over to me.
That's so interesting. So let me ask you this. What's kind of the plan for the future with it? Are you going to go into some sort of consulting? Are you going to be helping specifically fighters and weight cutting in those processes?
So really, I did get it because I would love to work with the MMA community. I feel like my biggest thing right now is finding clients. Like, so eventually, like, when I get more established with it, I do want to really just work with the MMA community. And I mean, right now, I'm open to working with anyone, your general fitness enthusiast, an athlete, someone who's just wanting to better themselves and whatnot. And I just, yeah, I'm fine with like anybody to work with.
And so working with these clients, what are some of the things maybe specifically that you would plan to do? Is it building meal plans? What is it?
So it would more so be with because it's a sports nutrition coach, is what I got.
Okay.
So the certificate I got really tailors to athletic performance and me seeing you perform at optimal, like as best as you can. And so basically, what I plan on doing with it is I'm going to go like for a 2 month plan, and I'm going to, get the good details of what your sport is, what your overall goal is. And then we're going to make an end goal and like little goals to meet that end goal. And then for me, like, for example, my mom's friend like sent me a picture of like a plan his dietitian gave him. And I was like, you're eating like a straight up dog here. Like, there's no joy in life with this plan. And I told him, like, you could come to me, like, I can help you. And so I'm actually going to meet with him here soon on the weekend and put him through something. And it's more so like, all right, I want you to, I can't, so like with me, I can't specifically tell you what you need to eat, but I could tell you like what your macros need to be, what you need to be consuming for game day. And I'll basically be working alongside you. Like, for example, if I'm working for a fighter in their camp, all right, I'm working alongside you. All right, I'm going to give you like a list of carbs and like what they do for different times. Like, should you eat this carb before or after working out? And then, like, for example, our body has high sensitivities to amino acids and carbs for 24 hours after exercise, just little things like that. And then it's like, all right, eat this, go do sprints, and I'll go with you. I'm going to time your sprints and let me know how your body feels eating this. So it's really like, how does your body react to eating this food, and do you like it?
Sure.
And
So
does it help you train well?
what is maybe the ideal food to eat after weigh-ins and maybe the ideal thing to eat on fight day for any given combatant?
After weigh-ins, I would say it's super important, and it really depends on the fighter and how they cut weight. So, like, if you have, if you did a drastic water cut, I highly suggest you consume your electrolytes, some of your vitamins, supplements, and carbs to replenish your body. And your body also needs fats, because in order for your body to like absorb certain like vitamins and nutrients, our fats actually play a big role in it. So I would tell them to really not load too much on carbs, but replenish them carb stores, because it could actually be super detrimental for you to not replenish your carb stores after an exercise. And your body, like, it takes a long time for it to like get back to where it needs to be from using like certain energies and stuff. So it's super important. That's like when you see like athletes or something. Vince says this all the time. He says if you watch athletes, they'll be eating like Skittles or something, like football players during their games, and it's so they could replenish their glycogen stores for like fatigue and stuff like that. Post weigh in is definitely your electrolytes, your carbs, and your proteins. And then the day of fight day, for me, I stick with a good carb filled breakfast. So therefore, my body does metabolize it and it doesn't slow me down later in the day. And then I also want to get my protein consumption and my fats in for, all good reasons. And I really think a fighter's main focus needs to be rehydrating, depending on how much water they've cut, and getting their sodium stores back, because sodium plays an extremely big role in hydration also.
This is all so interesting. I really appreciate you giving a little bit of your expertise. This is great stuff. I
No, I
want to get
appreciate you asking me about it and like advertising that, because I really have been wanting to get clients and work with them. It's just hard, like working full time and then training and
sure. I hope it brings along some people who are interested in maybe learning a little bit more. I want to jump back into the fighting part of things. Your first kickboxing bout versus your second, there was such a drastic difference in the style in which you put on. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe what you learned from July of 2023 to March of 2024?
yeah, so my first fight against Lacey, I was actually, that was not, I did not perform the way I would. That day was really hard though. Like, weigh-ins, the second we get out of the canyon, my coach Jake had ridden with me at the time, and Cody and Joel calls me like, yo, Kiwi, like your opponent won't board the plane. But, the week before they were talking about putting me and Lacey together. And I was, and so I just told him, I guess I'll grab the bull by his horns, and, like, I'm going to fight regardless. It's something I've been romanticizing in my brain since I was a teenager. Like, but then it was really hard, because because I was actually needing to eat some more food before weigh ins for that fight. And as soon as I do, I get a call. You need to come to the hospital. Your grandma's. So before weigh-ins, I went and see my grandma, and she's practically dead. And so so I go into weigh-ins, and that's just heavy on my mind because me and my grandma were like, I was a special kid in the family, and we had that special relationship like my family members were jealous of. So it was like fight day was also really like just draining, like knowing that. And then it was my fight, and then other things with my family. And then I remember sitting in the back for weigh-ins, and it's like literally felt like the energy from my head all the way down to my toes leave my body. And then like five of my family members called me at once to make sure I was okay and to tell me good luck. And right then and there, I had known that my grandma died.
Yeah.
And just by the way, like I knew it was like, so I was like, I remember sitting in the back thinking, man, like, this is my very first fight, and I do not feel like fighting right now. I feel like crying. I don't feel okay, but I'm trying to keep a strong persona on because it's me, and I gotta let everyone know I'm a big, strong girl, type of ordeal. And so I remember sitting in the back just being like, man, like I feel broken and I'm ready to break right now. And so really I walked into my first fight like I was not emotionally there. And then I remember I had stunned her. And then when I stunned her and she wobbled back, it's like I saw my grandma standing directly behind her. So I like stopped and was like, whoa. And I was so disappointed in myself because I told myself if I would have followed through after I had stunned her, I could have won that fight. Like, and I remember Joel telling me, Kiwi, I need you to pull that trigger. I need you to pull that trigger. And I just couldn't. Like, I felt so my heart felt so broken. And so my second fight, it's like, and then, when you lose a fight, it's more so the feeling of disappointing everybody. You feel like you disappointed everyone. You feel like people bought a ticket for no reason just to see you fail them. And I know it's really not that. Like your family's proud of you, your family, your friends, everyone's so proud of you just for getting in there. But it is a feeling of like, man, I just disappointed everybody that came to watch me. And so I remember like that feeling. So my walking into my second fight, it was hard, and I was and so like I was like, hey, like I got to do this, like. And it's like the whole day, like, too, like I'm a very loving person, and so like for me, like it's so hard not to see that you're just a human being trying to just get through life. We're all walking our own way home in our own shoes, so it's really hard. And I feel like my first fight I couldn't get past like the emotional aspect of it. So it was like my second fight, I had to convince myself like you cannot feel remorse. You cannot feel bad for hitting her. You cannot feel bad, like you cannot let emotion get in the way, because that was my biggest thing in my first fight, was letting emotion get the best of me. And like I want to be like, "Oh, are you okay?" after I hit you. And so I remember after my second fight, actually I laid in bed the whole day feeling like a terrible person. I was like, man, like, because I remember when I would come in with my feints, and she would kind of go, "Whoa." And I remember the whole day I was like, God, I scared that poor girl so bad. And I remember I felt bad. And then I was like, she's probably feeling like just as sad as I was from losing my fight. And like, so the whole day I like was like feeling like her emotions rather than being so excited that I just won my fight. But it was like my second fight, I feel like I had really got to show you guys what kind of fighter I am. And the like, I didn't get to show you guys that in my first fight. So my second fight, it's like I'm showing everyone what kind of fighter I am, because who I was in my first fight is not. It ain't Kiwi.
That
So
that perfectly segues saying it ain't Kiwi. Where does that nickname come from? Because it's not just you, it's Joel, it's Cody. Everybody who knows you calls you Kiwi. Where does that nickname stem from?
so Nakia is really hard to for people to remember. Everyone will call me Nakia, and so I'll just call me Kiwi. And so Cody, I remember one day he looked at me and he's like, I'm not ever gonna remember how to say your name. And I was like, it's okay. And then this girl goes, let's call her Kiwi. And he goes, Kiwi it is. So yeah, ever since then, I've just been Kiwi. And since then, because God, I started training at Fierce 2017 down in Price. And then, so I used to just left school and Cody would be like, why aren't you at school? And I'm like, to hang out with you guys. Like, during like COVID shutdown, like I would go and help them. I helped them put up like the new cage and new equipment for the gym. So like it was definitely something like that. And then when I had moved up here, that's Cody told Joel like this girl, we're gonna call her Kiwi. She's starting to train, and so everyone just had known me by Kiwi. A lot of people actually think my name is Kiwi, which kind of humors me and stuff. So yeah, even at work, like a lot of my coworkers will call me Kiwi. Because after a few times of hearing them say Nakia, I'm like, oh, okay, just keep calling me Kiwi.
I actually really appreciate when you made your debut years ago. I remember reaching out and you said it's Nakia, and then you spelled it out phonetically. Really, really appreciated that because it gave us all the context to make sure that we
Oh,
get it
my
right.
biggest fear was getting called out by them mispronouncing my name. Like I remember thinking, I'm literally gonna cry if they call me Nakia on that microphone. Like my whole family will laugh, but
Well, Jackson Hoops definitely minds his P's and Q's. That's one of the most important things for us to make sure that it's all accurate for you guys. So we're happy that
oh yeah.
that we made sure not to mess that up. It kind of comes back to Price, Utah, talking about returning home and being able to perform. And the last one, not necessarily that you didn't get the win, but more so everything that you've talked about in this interview about your grandma. You get to return and now kind of be a whole different fighter, make your MMA debut. How much does it mean to you to be able to come back home?
You know, I'm excited for it. You know, growing up down in Price, I'd always get told, you're going to grow up to be a piece of shit drug addict just like your dad. So, like, to me, it's very significant to go show, like, those kids at school that, would say shit like that is a big, like, guess what I'm doing and you guys aren't doing anything with yourselves. Like, and I know it shouldn't be like that. And I guess I shouldn't have, like, that spite type of mentality, but I do with it because it's like, I feel like there's a reason why I bounced out of that town at 17. So part of me feels like I'm coming back to like show you guys like I am worth something and I am something and I have built myself into being twice the person you guys ever thought I would be.
Are the nerves similar to the kickboxing debut, or are they kind of shedded because you've already competed?
I feel like for me, um my nerves are like off and on, and so like I've got to like tell myself like don't be scared. There's no reason to be scared. I can't let fear control me. And then once I start noticing I'm getting nervous, I then sit myself back and think, well, why am I nervous? Like, am I scared? No. Then why am I nervous? Well, the possibility of the outcome. So I feel like this time around, I'm really walking into it as win or lose, either way, I'm walking out learning something. Regardless of the outcome, there's always going to be a lesson for me to learn. And so, like, walking into this fight, I feel like I'm really regulating those nerves and just telling myself, like, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Trust yourself. And regardless of the outcome, you're going to gain something.
Nakia, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. I know you're literally at work right now, so I appreciate you giving me just a couple minutes of your day. Is there anything else specifically you're looking forward to? Anyone you want to give a thank you to before we close things up?
Yeah, I'll give a thank you to a few people. Of course, Cody. I call him Buttface, so shout out to you, Buttface. And then of course my old coaches, Jake and Joel. Absolutely amazing people. Biggest reason why I've really developed the style I am. And like this camp, I'm of course gonna get working with Joel. He's like one of the people I've looked up to for years now. And then also Aldo, Zach, they're the ones working with me now. They're my coaches. They're great. Vince has been a ton of help. The guys at One Hit that have been helping me, my old Sierra fam. I could give a lot of people a good shout out because and like Lacey and Grayson, like a lot of people I feel like have this mentality that I guess if they're not in the fight world, they think like you always beef with your opponents. Nah, me and Lacey are great friends. And then Grayson too, like me, her, and Lacey, we all go to the fights together and hang out. So them two, they're great, and I like having them in my corner.
Who's going to be in the corner on Saturday or on that Saturday night?
I'll probably have Aldo and Vince corner me.
Very cool.
So, because like on Saturdays, me and him will go to like the park and do mitt works. Like we bought some mitts and stuff, so we'll go and like get work in together. And like last night we ran together, and it is nice to be with someone that also fights. I feel like we both like, like he helps with where he's a pro and I'm an amateur. It definitely like he helps a ton for me. So, like pointing out little things in my striking, and then like, wall wrestling drills, he'll sit back and help me with. And so that's great.
Absolutely love it. Cannot wait for this fight in July in Price, Utah. Nakia, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Sweet. Thank you, Blake. It was good talking to you, and I appreciate you bringing me on here.